right, so I want to make a copper label here indicating that this will be chamomile. So I'm going to make a copper embossed piece, patina it, and then stick it on here. So first thing I need to do is design my label here. Oh my gosh, I'm getting all smudgy. Design my label here. So I'm gonna place this here, and I'm gonna want it to be on the flatter part. So I'm just gonna press here and just go around here to kind of give me an idea of how big the plate's gonna be. I don't know if you can see. I'll bring it up closer, but it's gonna need to be about that big. So I'm gonna start drawing my design. And I have an outline here. It's not perfect, but it gives me an idea. Ooh, maybe it's too big. Okay, so we're gonna make it a little bit smaller, just to make sure I'm not having an issue with the edges. I think it might be good. All right, we're gonna, this inner part is where I'm gonna make my design. So first I'm probably gonna write chamomile. I wrote down chamomile. It doesn't have to be perfect because I kind of want it to have like a little bit of a rustic primitive look to it. You're going to be able to see it. Can you see it through there? Yeah, you can. It's sort of a small thing to emboss, so it's not going to look as intricate and detailed as this, but I think it'll work. So now I need to transfer this onto the copper that I'm going to be using. I think that will work. Once again, a little bit uneven, but I don't care too much about that. If you do care about that, you can always use some kind of template to make it straighter. As for me, I'm not too terribly concerned about it. Now I'm going to transfer this into copper and start embossing. So what I'm going to be using is this copper that is 0.005 thick, 36 gauge. See those steps. It's a soft copper. Hopefully you can see that. I use for most of my metal embossing. So I want it to be soft enough to able to emboss on, but I don't want it to be too thin. If it's too thin, it will be easily damaged. Ooh, look at all those fingerprints. There. There we go. So I'm just going to tape this onto that. Okay, so I taped it to the copper. I'm going to get some newspaper and my embossing tools, and I'm going to start embossing. So I got some old newspapers here. I have my box of embossing tools. I'm going to use just a regular pen to trace, and then I'm going to start embossing with the tools. Making sure to trace the outline here so I know where to cut. I'm using a pen because it'll still be fine. You could still see the lines in the copper because it's soft enough. However, I also know what I already traced and what I still need to trace. Fairly simple design, so it didn't take very long. See, in the back, you can kind of tell I got everything I did for the most part. I didn't bother with the leaves because that I'll pretty much figure out what I need to do when I'm doing it. Right, so I'm going to take this off. There it is. Now you have to determine or make sure that you're embossing the right side, because you want the raised bits to be on this side and not this side. Have chamomile spelled here. You could tell which side is going to be the right side. Just a word of advice, make sure you're embossing on the right side. You don't want all that work to be wasted and have to do this all over again. There you go. Now for the embossing. See, that looks much more defined and looks better. And all I'm using are these tools. I'm not sure what they're called. Embossing, sculpting. I honestly don't remember what they're called, and I've had them for so long that I don't remember what they even are. But these are fantastic to emboss copper with. Also, if you want to do bigger pieces, smudge sticks. I call them smudge sticks. They're not like the sage witchy smudge sticks. They're just for smudging graphite and charcoal and whatnot. But these are fantastic for those bigger areas, or just to kind of flatten those bigger areas out. These are great. Now I'm gonna try to finish this. I think I'm done as far as embossing. I don't want it too crazy or complicated because you still need to patina this and sand it. So you don't want it to be too much. You want a little bit of the copper showing. So I think I'm just gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna cut it and see how that looks on the bottle. And I probably should have gave this warning sooner. The edges are sharp. I have cut myself on these edges many times, so be very careful. But yeah, this does get pretty sharp, so be super careful. I'm gonna place it onto here. Taking out, I might have to curve it a little bit. Even by itself like that, that looks adorable. But I do want to patina it. I want to give it kind of a older feel. And you could make copper strips, copper embossed strips that go around here. That would look super cute. However, just be mindful that you are turning this and it might come loose or might cut yourself if you don't properly put things around the edge. So just be aware of that. Or even, well, on top here you could. Oh, that actually would be super cute. I might do that. I might do that. For now, I'm focused here. What I'm gonna do, I noticed that it's kind of sticking up a little bit. So I'm gonna want to slightly curve it so it fits better onto the glass. This is where the smudger would come in. If you go from the inside out, if you have bases like this, you don't wanna do it on the embossed piece. But when you have spaces like this, kind of on the inside, because with the smudger, I don't know if you could tell, but it does naturally just curve the metal. You don't have to manipulate it that much with your fingers. Okay, yeah, that feels a lot better. Edge, once again, be careful with the edges, please do not hurt yourself. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm probably gonna use some alcohol to get rid of some of these oils from the fingers. They could cause the patina not to adhere very well. And then I'm gonna start to patina. All right, so what I'm gonna do now that I clean this off with alcohol, I'm gonna use this liver of sulfur. If you want more details on the process, I have a video on that. This stuff is stinky. I have it in a pretty ventilated area because blah, unless you like the smell of sulfur. Okay, I'm going to drop this in and let it get dark. And then after that gets nice and dark, I'm gonna put it in the baking soda bath right here. And then I will sand it off. Just another word of advice. Sometimes you can't tell how dark it's getting until you slightly lift it up. Then you can see how dark it's getting. Because it looks much lighter through the solution, but when you pick it up, you see just how dark it's getting. I'm gonna let it sit there a little bit longer. I want it pretty dark. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. So what I do, being very careful, do you see how dark that is? I put it into the baking soda solution to neutralize it. We're gonna let it sit in that for a while, trying to get some baking soda onto it. You're probably gonna wanna rinse it out. Okay, you can see just how dark that patina got. Yeah, the baking soda was expired, so I don't know if it did a great job of neutralizing it. Seems to be getting darker now. But we'll see. We'll see. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna move this to the side. Okay. Now that I made a big old mess with everything, I'm going to sand it, or actually I'm just gonna use a sponge, the green and yellow sponges, green side, to try to get all the raised bits. So I'm gonna be a little specific, that's why it's cut to this shape, so I could get the little fine details too. And if you really want to, you can use actual sandpaper. I wouldn't use I would use the fine grit. Alright, I think I got the desired look. There it is. That's how it's gonna look. What I'm gonna do is get the super glue, and then after I'm gonna be very careful. This one is the tricky one, outlining it with this. So you don't want the edges to stick up. So you outline it so it's smoother and no one gets hurt, and that's what I'm gonna do. Once again, I kind of gently curved it better onto the glass. I have my super glue, which I need to open. So I'm gonna do that. Now be careful with super glue. I think anyone that has ever used super glue knows what a pain in the butt it can be. It sticks to everything, pretty awful. As I say that, oh no, oh no. See, see? So I'm just gonna put it around the edge here. In the middle, mostly the edge. Okay. Press it down. Sometimes you get that, scratch it off, something sharp. Okay, so I got most of that off with a knife. Honestly, I'm not gonna go too crazy with it because I don't care that much. But if you wanted to, yeah, just a knife or a razor blade, once again, being careful, obviously, it'll come right off. So now I'm gonna use this stuff. It's dimensional fabric paint. I have, whoop, careful. I have it in matte. Shiny could work too. I use shiny too. But you really want to be careful, and it's basically you're doing this to kind of fill in that edge so it helps stick better. Is it a nice little border, but also it kind of helps with the edges, because I'm a klutz. I always hurt myself on things. So this gives you a little extra protection. You don't need to do this, honestly, you don't. This is something I do for myself. I like the look of it. Wipe the excess off. Maybe not your finger like I did, because if it's sharp, you're gonna get hurt, and that kind of defeats the purpose. Once again, you probably don't want to do this with your finger. You probably want to use a Q-tip or something more civilized. I'm a goblin. See this mess? If you have a mess created from the super glue, then I would suggest scratching it off first. Once again, knife or razor blade, please be careful. I didn't do a good job because I'm impatient and I didn't care that terribly much about it, but it would be better to scrape it off before you add the dimensional paint, because then it sticks to it. That happens. It discolors it. And although you could still scratch it off, it's just going to become more of a hassle. So just scratch it off before, because otherwise the black dimensional paint you can easily wipe off. Doesn't make that much of a mess. But if you have the super glue already on there, it'll make a bigger mess. So that's a lesson. We learn things. There we go. There we go. So I'm going to put my dried chamomile in here. And have a cute little jar. You could do this for all your spices if you want. It's definitely cute. And you can, again, add silver strip here if you wanted to. And definitely you can add it on top here. There you go. Yay! Herb jar.